Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back for another episode on Connect with the Conversations in the Quran. So, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Today we're going to look at a conversation of the believer in Surah Yasin, and we call him Rajulun min Aqsal madinati, that he came from the furthest corners of the town, and he was advising his children. So just to continue from the last episode that we left off yesterday of what is intrinsic from the story of the fisherman who broke the Sabbath, is that and it comes in, I wasn't able to mention it yesterday. Today it's in Ayah Al Imran. It comes in a few places, but it's in Ayah 110 of Al Imran, where it says, Ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhana anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. So, O people, you are the best. Kuntum khairun ummatin ukhrijatin nas. You are the best of people evolved for enjoining Ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhana anil munkar, and forbidding what is wrong. And that's what there were people in the story of the fishermen, that there were those who were enjoining the good. They said, don't do that. So here now we are coming back to this in Surah Yasin, about how this person came running from Aqsal Madinah. The story starts when they were the people story set forth is a parable of the companions of the city. They came messengers, we sent them 2, then we sent them 3, and what happened is that they didn't listen. They said, you're only men like ourselves, and the Ar-Rahman, he didn't send antum la takzibun, and we think you are nothing but liars. Then they said, but no, and this conversation continued until 19, and in 20 we have this man, waja'a min aqsal madinati rajulun. So there was madinati rajulun yasa, and qala ya qawm ittabi'u al-mursaleen. Oh my people, obey the messenger. And time and again we've done the concept that we need to believe in Allah and obey the messenger. The belief gets confirmed when you act on it. You know, so when the people say this idea about, oh, but belief is in my heart, it doesn't matter what I do, Allah knows what I believe in. But because it's in the doing that your effort shows, it's no point I'm just believing but I do nothing beyond that. You know, so we in amanu wa amilu salihat, we are to believe and we are to enact and do good deeds. So that's the background. So here what it does is he goes on from 29, obey ittabi'u man la yasulukum ajran wa hum muhtadun. Obey those who don't ask for anything and who are muhtadun, who are on guidance. And then he goes on to say, وَمَا لِيَ لَعْبُدُ الَّذِينَ فَتَرَنِي وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ. It would not be reasonable of me if I did not serve him who created me, Abudul Lazina Fatarani, the one who created me, وَإِلَيْهِ تُرْجَعُونَ, and to him I'm going to return. And then he goes on to say, so he gives again now logic. The way we've done it once, and the man of the Mu'minun within the group, the family or the group of the Ahle Fir'aun, of the people of the Fir'aun, and how he, in defense of Musa alayhi salam, spoke up and gave them a long thing of, you know, why aren't you listening, and the logic that came there. Here again too, this is a person from the Aqsal Madinati, from the furthest corners of the town, and then from this we also extrapolate that, you know, sometimes the urban areas we're all a bit too savvy, worldly wise, this and that, so we're not so into having the sincerity of belief, whereas somebody living on the suburbs who's not exposed to all the khurafat, all the dunya factors, and then he's the one who comes in with this sincerity. So we are given from a tradition that his name was Habib al-Najjar, but this is from secondary sources. The narrative, the focus is on the interaction of what this righteous man calls his community to faith when they're not listening to the angels. And one messenger was, 2 were sent, and 3 were sent. They didn't listen to him. And now his conversation is encapsulated in the Quran for a timeless message. You're not listening to the messengers, listen to one of your own people. So the context and the of it was that he's he's telling them, urging people to follow, doing the ta'muruna bil ma'ruf, highlighting their sincerity, they have nothing to gain. And he said, why shouldn't I? So despite of his clear reasoning, they say they were still stubborn. And so what I would be manifest error. And so he does that for a few ayahs till 24. And then what happens? So listen to me, birabbikum fasma'un. So listen to me, please listen to me. And the same thing that the believer in the court of Pharaoh said, فَسَتَذْكُرُونَ مَا أَقُولُ لَكُمْ. You will soon remember what I say to you. I, for my part, I say, وَفَبِّدُ أَمْرِي اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَصِيرٌ بِالْعِبَادِ. That I put my affairs in Allah's hand and He watches. He's a watcher of all His abd ibad. And think of how abd reoccurs as a word when Allah most lovingly wants to refer to us as the believers. And in 26 it said, قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةَ قَالَ يَا لَيْتِ قَوْمِي يَعْلَمُونَ. Again, on terms of conversation, he's told, قِيلَ ادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةَ. You enter Jannah now. So in other words, they either martyred him, and his death was so he was shaheed. But as soon as he was shaheed, it's again like how episodes change. You have this flash scene and then suddenly onto the other. So that's the scene of Jannah, and he's told that you enter Jannah, and he says, oh, even then he's thinking of the people, the ones who killed him, who martyred him probably, he say, oh, I wish my people, qawmi ya'lamun, if I wish that my ya layta, it's that hasra, that regret, that woe, I wish my people knew what I know, kind of. And then he said, bima ghafara li rabbi wa ja'alni min al-mukarramin. How Allah has forgiven me and made me of the mukarram, of the people. So this person, the background being that he was just one of them, and not somebody with high status degrees and this and that. So even though he's highlighting the wisdom of worshipping with logic, and they're not believing it, and then he ends up in jail, then he says, Allah has given me. I wish they could have a scene of, scene. And this is why Allah gives us so many scenes of the akhirah, of have an image of that is as real as what you're doing here, of the Jannat min tajri min tahtiha al-anhar, in Jannah, and the streams that will be flowing. What the purpose of that is for you while you're sitting here and you don't know what's going to happen, Allah's showing you that scenery. Just as in Yusuf alayhi salam, when they ran to the door and he saw the burhan of Allah. So if we can consider all these messages that we see in the Quran about the Akhirah, to see, and His words about how mukarramin, how Allah made me of the held in honor, subhanallah, how He is. And then after that in 28 Allah says that we sent not against His people, we didn't have to send Him any more messengers, any host from heaven, but there was nothing but in kanat illa sayhatan wahidatun fa idha humus qamidun. And they were just one mighty blast Allah sent to the ultimate destruction for the city, and which was the consequence of persistent disbelief. So, an opposition to divine guidance. So basically, and this is, Ya Hasrata, again, Allah in 30 also says that this is a way that a messenger doesn't come, but they mock them. So, what do we get from all this? That the virtues of faith, sincerity, unwavering commitment to calling others towards righteousness, even the face of adversity. He lost his life in saying ta'muruna bil ma'ruf. So link these concepts of in Ramadan, that we are fasting and we're doing good for children. So don't badmouth people, don't use swear words, don't do something. In everything within our sphere of our children, our families, our spouses, wherever we have our sphere of influence, enjoin the good and unwavering commitment to calling others towards the faith. And so that's a context about the way he's, and this is why it's sometimes useful, instead of pointing, he says, why shouldn't I worship the one? Why shouldn't we be doing this? Bring it to yourself, isn't it? It's only going to serve me well if I come on track, if I do, if I do dawah, or if I encourage other people, it's only going to help me, So if you don't believe it, if it's nothing good, no, what's the point? They said, like they said, the men, the fishermen, that no, we will be able to tell Allah that we did what we could, we did it within we stopped people from eating non-halal, we told them this, don't eat at that restaurant, it also serves alcohol and other things. Whatever you can do, and yes, often there's nothing you can do. And it's true that we can't go around being policemen, but they were, in the city of Medina at the time of a prophet. He did have people there. I think there was also a female there was a woman out there who would make sure that people abided by the law, and I don't know whether it was to make sure that they went for salah or the other things, but we did have that. So we don't need a police force. It's not like, and this is what happens, it's not in our mindset, in our cultural domain that we live, that you have people go around telling us. Before we had our elders, they would tell us, and how annoyed we would get when the elder, the grandma, or this one is ticking you off, and it's like, my mother can tick me off. She has no right to tick me off. How that has now sprawled out that nobody has any right. Now you can even challenge your parents. They can say, "Oh, what is it? Child abuse," and putting your parents in the court in the hot seat about why did you do this to your child. So this is all just going crazy, the world. But the fact remains that Allah told us that you continuously tell the truth. It's also true, what we take home from this, do it in a beautiful way. That's why these conversations I like to share is how it's done politely. It's not name calling, but it's look at what is good for you. Do this, and that's what we need to be taking home. Is that, you see, we tend to get Gestapo-like, or okay, that's my mission, right and wrong, no matter who, how, whether I tread on people's toes, this is what I'm going to do. And the fear there we need to watch out for is that I don't get arrogant supposedly in the thinking that I'm only doing it and supposedly piety, and that's why I love it. As soon as we attribute piety to ourselves, as soon as we say, oh, but I'm doing it because I'm one of the pious ones, the moment I say that, we've lost the plot. So don't attribute that you are covered because you're doing good, then you have the whole of your deen and iman behind you, inshallah. But the moment you get arrogant and complacent and presume that, you've lost the plot. You've totally lost the plot. I'm talking about myself too. And I loved it whenever I bring it up. I said, no, the thing is that we are to do for the pleasure of Allah. So if you're doing it, yes, inshallah, to get to Jannah, there is that beautiful saying about, whether I do it for agenda based, that's not what it is. It's for the pleasure of Allah, and then Allah, inshallah, if we make it to Jannah, our grades will increase according to the level of sincerity and the unwavering commitment that we had. So that's the story I wanted to bring, because I love it, and I love the fact that his conversation is recorded in our Quran, and it's timeless, and yet Allah chose not to give us his name. So yes, from tradition you can, and if it helps just to place him, like Khidr isn't mentioned by name, and other people. So the beauty of, don't get hooked to the personality, look at what is being said, and the message that needs to resonate for us, or we take it home and we work on it. So again, the courage of calling to truth, of having reason-based dawah, of the reward of faith, and the consequences of rejection. So I pray that there has been some merit or benefit in sharing this story, and we're able to benefit from it. We read Yasin, and so we know it, but inshallah, may this be a benefit to us. So with that, I'd like to end off and say, Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun al mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.